Good evening, guys. Welcome to another episode. Let me start off by welcoming all those of you that follow us and continue to show us support and interest in the information and the knowledge we have to share. Allow me as well to welcome our panelists. Charles Olak in London, you're welcome.
Thank you.
Harry Larubi in the United States, you're welcome, brother. So today we're going to be looking at 5 critical questions following the NRM primaries. And it was a very interesting primary, I would say, you know, and it got us questioning a few things really on the process of the election in Uganda and the way things are done. But I think more importantly, I think if we can start off, guys, by sort of looking at what is the significance of party primaries to grassroots politics and democracy? If I can start off with you, Harry, what do you think are the primaries really important?
First of all, let me start by thanking our viewers and you, my fellow panelists who are on here today. Going straight to your question, primaries is something very critical because we are in multi-party political system whereby each party fills in, or at the national level or at the final election, they have to fill in their candidates. So that's where we see the importance of primaries, because each party will try to put in as many political candidates as they can. So they have to kind of sort it out at primaries so that when it comes to the final election, they can have a added advantage over other political parties. So that's how I see the importance of primaries.
Okay, thank you, Harry. Charlie, if you can come in as well, please.
I too would like to thank our viewers out there.
We have lost your visual. Yeah, you're back on.
Sorry, there was an interference on my line. So I would like to thank our viewers out there, and obviously my fellow panelists. Today's topic is critical, very important, especially in view of the fact of how we witnessed the just concluded NRM primaries. Why do I say so? First of all, we saw scenarios which I'm sure, did not expect, but we'll come to that later. Just coming to this question, how important is it to the grassroots political development? I think it helps to develop politics and people's interest in the candidates that put themselves forward, because people would want to know who is standing, what sort of person are they, where do they come from, and what do they offer for us or for me as a voter. So I think this is critical, but of course this is just one party, i.e. the ruling party, the NRM party. So we can see that there has been a lot of allegations of various kinds being thrown around. So whether that has helped to advance the process or not, obviously we are going to discuss in today's segment. But as of now, my position is it's important to have those primaries. Obviously, parties that cannot field candidates, then whoever stands in that position or in that slot goes unopposed, which should not be what the voters see. The voters would benefit from candidates fighting it out, and the best candidate emerging as the one that has gained the most votes in that constituency.
So in a sense then, Charlie, you're saying it's intended to give us the best of the bunch, which is a very important point that people need to take seriously. But if I can add very briefly, Harry already mentioned it's a sieving process to kind of narrow the candidates down. Charlie, you mentioned it gives real power to the people. For me, I think it holds leaders accountable as well, because what we saw is a lot of the incumbents are going and failing. So then you ask yourself why? It's because the voters have lost confidence in them. And I think it redeems confidence in the electoral process, because we're coming from, I know they brought back the multipartism in 1996. And ever since, there's been lots of doubt about the process and everything. But I think with the kind of the primary structure, it redeems that confidence in sort of democracy and election in Uganda. And I think all parties need to kind of take it seriously. And finally, perhaps it forms a quality control on the final results, because then if somebody did very well in the primaries and all of a sudden in the general elections they have been kind of biased in some sense, then the public will be able to read between the lines. So yes, I think we will all agree that the primaries are well intentioned and they're meant to enhance the quality of democracy in Uganda. We will proceed and sort of look at other issues and probably why it's not functioning as it's intended to. If we can move on to how does it benefit the candidates themselves? Harry, if you could start, the benefits of the primaries to the candidates themselves.
I see it would benefit the so-called dark horses or the newcomers into the field, because this is a situation whereby primaries, you've shown in your face, then you've shown in your capability. So assume you're not so much known. So your eloquence or the way your campaign skills kind of, you send out your echo, and you also awaken those who are like in doubts or those who are sleepy. So that's how you can awaken the voters. So when you pass it through primaries, that's when gives you a chance of like the newcomers or the dark horses taken seriously. So when it goes to round two, now they know that, okay, they have sieved off those who are not sure, deemed so not capable. So at that situation, people who are like newcomers now, they have strengthened, and they strengthen plus awakening the voters. So that's what I see it favors more those who are like newcomers and dark horses. That's all I can say.
Okay, thank you for that. Charlie, if you can come in, please.
So what I do see is that obviously someone who is totally unknown previously suddenly bursts onto the scene, and then they become known, and obviously they would then use the process to publicize their candidature to the voters. So obviously people like that are definitely going to benefit from that. It's a kind of a quality check, as you've mentioned before, because if a candidate has been in the previous parliament and they're again offering themselves for election, for re-election, people will start saying, okay, who is actually standing in this constituency? Then obviously when people start mentioning the names of the candidates, then the next logical question will be, if it was so and so who is actually putting himself forward to stand, what have they actually delivered for us? They were elected, they've been in power 5 years, but we don't see anything they've done. We just see their cars zooming past, and you hear that he's in the constituency this time. The next time you hear, they're already back in Kampala. So what people actually want is someone who connects with the voters. If the voters set their sights on that particular candidate, they then know that, yes, this is our candidate. This is the candidate that speaks for us. But as soon as you start getting doubts from candidates, I mean from the voters about the candidate, then you know there's trouble, because it means those particular candidates haven't actually delivered. So to come back to your question, the people who are already incumbent would be actually on the back foot, as it were. They would be on the defensive. They would have to prove that they're actually worthy to be sent back. So from that point of view, it's not so good for them, if especially they haven't delivered. They haven't come up with any projects to help the people in the area. They haven't been back to hold any surgeries to listen to the voters' complaints and problems, and to see ways by which those problems can be resolved. So people would then say, I don't think such a candidate should be offering themselves, but at least we should try so and so who is new. So the new candidates would stand a better chance in that kind of scenario, rather than the ones who are incumbent.
By the same light as well, if somebody has been performing, then they shouldn't have a problem, because
absolutely.
What we're seeing is very interesting with the NRM primaries. Some incumbents just went through. Somebody as old as Moses Ali, he just sailed through, no questions asked, nothing.
So
and then somebody like Anita just kicked out. So it's that accountability aspect of the primaries, and that's what I find that adds a lot of value to Uganda's democratic process, really. And I'm glad you touched on that. Yes, Harry, you want to come in?
Yeah, to add on that, as like for the incumbent side of it, because there are some services that candidates there are some services that are provided, but you can't see it as tangible services. So as a candidate, as an incumbent, that's an opportunity to reaffirm or reassure your constituency that giving you accountability. So there are some services or some things that you provide that cannot be seen physically, but behind the scene,
I think there you're making a very good example. For example, with Leandro Kumakechi's situation right now, he obviously did his job as a parliamentarian, but the community just seems out of touch with the reality or the role of the MP. So then they're turning it to use it against him. So I think, yes, it's an opportunity for the incumbents to make their case. Although it can be quite tricky and disadvantageous in a sense that the grassroots have made up their mind. They're very difficult to see. But also on like the individuals themselves, guys. I think you did mention it's a chance for them to showcase themselves. But then I think it does boost their confidence, because a lot of them are coming in, no political experience. They have never run a political campaign. So I think there's a lot of skills they learn from it. I think it tests their leadership abilities as well. It's a good indicator for them as well, whether it's a worthy campaign, whether they're going to succeed. But I think people are just stubborn. They're so insistent. If I was to run for a primary and fail, I would go back to the drawing board instead of trying to force myself through as an independent. Well, if everything was fair and just, but we all know, especially with NRM primaries, there's those accusations, Charles, you mentioned, that we will talk about later. And overall, I think it enhances their performance as well, because once you go through that, then you stand a better chance at the general elections, because now you are going against somebody else. So you have already got the skills of campaigning, of managing a team to run your primary. So it's a good building block, really, for the candidates. And I think the candidates from different parties need to encourage their parties to adopt the primaries, because we're not seeing a lot of them hold primaries at the moment.